everyone, this is JJ Outlaw, better known as the Gourmet Goober. You can catch me on Twitter at JJ Outlaw and on Instagram at the Gourmet Goober. And welcome to the Gourmet Goober podcast. As always, I'm here with my PFF, my co-host, my hubby, all around that dude, Big Daddy, aka T Outlaw. Hey.
Hey, hi, I'm T Outlaw, as she has spoken so well before. You can find me on Twitter at T Outlaw, TOUTLAW, and on Instagram at T Outlaw, TOUTLAW. Josie Wells, throw it on. For the kids out there, old school, the old Clint Eastwood movie, T Outlaw, Josie Wells.
I think they get it.
I hope so.
And by the way, you can catch up with us. You can always drop us a line at thegourmetgoober@gmail.com. We have our blog, 6 years running and counting, where you can catch old recipes, press appearances, and all good stuff in Gooberland at thegourmetgoober.com. And then if you are so inclined to do the Facebook, I know that I personally don't do a lot of Facebooking anymore, but we do have a Facebook page, and you can catch that at the Gourmet Goober blog. So, as always, we thank you for listening. Woohoo! We've reached a couple of milestones. I think this is, episode 11 now?
This is episode 11, 7 to 11.
Woohoo! So, we've reached that big test that a lot of people don't reach in podcasting, because I heard that the average podcast, when they started off, they don't go quite 10 episodes, so we have beat that record.
And we're on the come up. That means now y'all gotta listen to us.
Well, yes, that is true. Well,
can't get rid of us easy.
Well, for those of you who are joining in, and again, just as a reminder, we are a bi-weekly podcast about food and pop culture.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. And as always, we always like to start our podcast talking about how our week went. So let's get it started. How was your week, Big Daddy?
For the most part, I would like to believe that my week was positive, or the last 2 weeks. I'd like to give a shout out to my cousin, same last name. He basically became a married man.
Woohoo! Yes.
He was on the come up, so thus he was already on the come up. He was already like an established star. This man can play a hell of a round of golf. He's also a golf pro and a representative of the First Tee program. Big shout out to him. He and his new wife, Jaleesa, are, for the most part, they are celebrating their time. And it was really great to see a lot of family and a lot of friends. But most importantly, just good to see, another brother, join the fraternity of Shankled Brothers.
Shankled Brothers, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, you make marriage seem like it's all that amazing like that.
Oh, yeah, it's all fun and games. First thing I told him on the thing, just do what she says, dude.
Yeah, he did put that in.
That's right.
Well, it was a beautiful wedding, though, and I'm really glad that they invited us. It was a gorgeous outdoor wedding, and we had a chance to reconnect with a lot of family members. Yeah, I just wish Stephen and Julie all the best, and thank him for making us a part of their special day. If you follow me on Instagram, I have this really amazing close-up picture of when they cut the cake. But yeah, it was a beautiful time, and so we're just really grateful to be a part of that.
I was a huge fan. I also this week got a chance to partake of very large quantities of food.
Yes.
Yes, we had a nice little time for Restaurant Month. We indulged in the great menagerie that is Fogo de Chao. Fogo de Chao. We did the Brazilian steak.
And for our listeners out there who's not familiar with Fogo de Chao, can you explain it?
Fogo de Chao is a death by meat, but no.
Yes.
It is a Brazilian steakhouse, and I don't have all the details. All I know is I've been to maybe Brazilian steakhouses maybe like 5-6 times, and I almost have to starve myself from the beginning. Like, for the most part, you partake of a traditional dinner, but as opposed to coming in and getting up a couple of courses. You walk in and they very much offer you a a nice little buffet area with salads and breads and partake of the nice stuff, the greenery. But like if you were real truly a carnivore, what happens is you say, okay, listen, I might partake a little bit of that. They're gonna stick some. They have a great little thing with plantains and whatever, and like mashed potatoes,
And
but for
polenta.
and polenta. But for the
Polenta's
most
good.
part, yeah, what's gonna happen is you're saying, all right, I come for the meat, and what happens is it's kind of like getting all the meat you can get. Um, you get them in small, bite-sized portions, maybe a little bit larger than bite-sized. But gentlemen, as you would call them, gauchos, will come out to different parts of, different tables, and they will offer you like skewers, as you will, of different types of meat, whether it be seafood, whether it be beef, chicken, lamb, pork. You get to partake of different quantities and little bits, and you keep going. And the thing is, you can either say you want this at this moment, or you could refuse it for the moment. It totally depends on you. You get to control the speed in which you partake of this food. But every time I've gone, my thing is, I'm coming. I'm starving myself for the meat. I'm starving, like I'm basically becoming stealth. Every time I go, for some reason, I seem to like walk half a mile or a mile just to get there because I have come to become a conditioned athlete to this.
It's not a sport.
It is not a competition.
No, it's not.
But it's only a competition amongst myself how much I can partake of. And I outdo myself every time. But then I suffer.
Yes.
Yes, there is such a thing. We invented, like, on our blog. It's called the meat sweats.
Oh, no, we didn't invent that. But meat sweats is a thing.
I invented my own meat sweats, damn it.
That's when you eat way too much meat and then it's like coming out of your pores.
It's coming out of your pores. You're sweating. You're just dripping. You're like, okay, literally, as my wife has stated, there's a certain point where you just like look at me and you're like, all right, I'm out. No, I can't do it. No, bro, I've tried. Meat just will not go down anymore.
And it's everything he says and more. I mean, it's a wonderful experience. When you go to Fogo de Chao, just piggybacking off of that and segueing into my week, it's kind of crazy because what they do is you get like this little chip, right? This little circular card.
Yes.
And one side of the card is red, it means stop, and the other side of the card is green, which means go. So what happens is, of course, you can hit that buffet. Big Daddy had nothing to do with that buffet that night. At one point, I came in with a plan because the last time I went to Fogo de Chao, I just went straight meat. And at one point, my body was physically repelling meat to the point where I remember having a fork of lamb and taking it to my mouth. And it was like two magnets repelling against each other. My body's like, no, sis. No, you've reached capacity. You are not getting this in your mouth. You are done. So what happens is when your little chip is turned to green, the grouchos, like you said, come to the table. They'll offer you like these huge skewers of meat. They'll ask you like what cut of meat you want, and they will go ahead and slice it for you, and everyone gets their set of tongues so you can put it on your plate. And you can just do this as many times as they offer it to you. Now, we actually took advantage, and I'll put this in the show notes as well, because my understanding this is still going on. Fogo de Chao, like I said, is an experience. You just don't go and leisurely eat at Fogo de Chao. Now, every time I've gone to a Brazilian steakhouse, it at least takes 2 hours just to get served and to sample everything and to get dinner. And so I think we were there for over 2 hours last night. And it's just, you can imagine, because of a lot of the specialty cuts of meat, because they a lot of it is specially prepared meats like they do in Brazil. So they have a cut of meat called the picanha, which I'll talk about later in the podcast, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But they have other special cuts of meats as well. The whole idea is that you can eat as much or as little as you want throughout the process.
Definitely don't bring your little quiet Sally Eating girlfriend, because she's just gonna bring down the show.
There's nothing vegetarian about it.
I mean, there's veggies. There's a whole little table she can partake of, but
That's not where you go.
She's just getting in the way of your carnivorous expedition.
But the really cool thing is they have this deal going on into September 15th, and that's why I'll put in the show notes, where it's called Restaurant Month. So as opposed to paying $56 for dinner, which I think gives you access to almost everything on their menu except for a few items, including their seafood portions, dinner is only $39 per person, which is an amazing deal. Yeah. So someone had told me about that, and I texted Big Daddy. I was like, what are you doing this Friday? We both get paid. We haven't gone out and had like a real date night for a night. Exactly.
Friday night.
Exactly.
Lots of meeting. Doing it right. Body shaking. All around. No one thing gonna be chowing down. Go ahead.
Okay, my apologies to Connie Kim for that.
Hey, rest in peace, dog.
But that said, oh yeah, it was pretty much like that. It was on. So Big Daddy texted me 7 or 8 times, RSVP, book it. Mm-hmm. We reserved the night. And the thing is, when you show up to be seated, you have to tell them, I'm here for restaurant night. And the price immediately goes from $56 to $39 per person.
I was trying to tattoo it on my head.
He was like, I'm going to bring a sign and just walk in carrying it. Mm-hmm. But no, it was a really cool night. They took us to this nice little section, and kudos to the staff, who was really, really incredibly nice and just open to us. And we had a great time. Ate a lot. I cannot even begin to quantify how much meat we ate. But I, unlike Big Daddy, did not wake up with a meat coma. Because the last time, like I said, I went to Fogo de Chao, I just did straight meat. And after a while, my body's like, no. And I think I ate salads for a week. This time, I'm like, I'm going to pace myself, eat so much of it, and then go to the salad bar and actually partake of kale and some of the greenery and just give myself a break. Mm-hmm. And I knew there was a particular cut of meat, which again, I'll review later in the podcast, that I was looking forward to. And it was every bit as great as I imagined it would be. And I was satisfied. But I think because of the fact that I paced myself, I did not have the meat sweats last night. No. Big Daddy, on the other hand, no. It was funny because I could look and see in real time when his body was done with the meat. There was it was almost in slow motion where I was looking at you across the table and you had this look and I was like, oh, you're done, right? He smiled and laughed and kind of looked at your plate sadly like you had lost out.
Yeah, and the war of man versus food. Brother versus food. Bruh, man. Food won.
But you know what? I give you credit because you did put in the old college try. And to be fair, you did choose to eat some other meat. Like I said, they had side dishes they bring to your table, including this really delicious mashed potato. They have bananas or plantains. But the polenta, I'm a huge polenta fan. So they had these little strips of fried polenta that was topped with Parmesan cheese. It was really, really delicious. So I hit the polenta pretty hard too, I admit that. But yeah, you come for the meat and you're not disappointed. Like I said, it's not something you want to go for if you're like the Impossible Burger. I'm sorry, there's no impossible meat they bring you.
Yeah. But it's impossible for them to bring impossible meat to you. I had to put in work.
Yes. You basically don't come in just casually. You have to have an appetite. But It's worth it. And if you want to take advantage of it, like I said, I'll put in on the show notes. I did check before we recorded this evening. It looks like their deal for restaurant night, restaurant month, is through September 15th, where again, the dinner is normally $56 per person at most of their locations across the country. And it's $39 per person, but it's It's nationwide. So if there's a Fogo de Chao in your area, you've always wanted to try it. I know we've been trying to get my parents to do it, and they've just not had a chance to.
We will.
But yeah, if you want to take advantage of it, now's the time to do it. And you don't get access to all the meat. I think there's just 4 cuts we were denied. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was the ribeye, the beef ribs, the lamb. It was the lamb chops, but they did have lamb steak, which was just as good.
Mm.
And do you remember what the 4th one was?
I thought it was a seafood.
Well, yeah, the seafood as well. But I think there was another cut of meat that we were not able to get.
That's okay. It was inconsequential.
Trust me, you do not miss it. You will just, if you're a carnivore, this is something you have to do at least once in your life. Yeah. And so that was definitely one of the highlights of my week. Another highlight of my week, because it's just been a crazy week, I turned in 4 grant applications, you guys, in like one day. It was insane, the amount of like stuff that I had to do this week.
Mama bringing home the money.
Yes. Outside of that, my company had a get together on Friday. So before I went to Fogo de Chao, I actually had Friday off, and we met at this really cool place that I'll also put the details for in the notes as well. This place called Punch Bowl Social. It's in Chicago and the Fulton Market District. And it's like this retro place that you can go play bowling. There's darts. When you walk in, it's hilarious. There's like a row of like washing machines, like an old style 50s laundromat.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But the cool thing is they also have karaoke. And it's not like open karaoke. What it is you get a closed room. Kind of like if you've ever seen like karaoke in some of the Asian restaurants where they have like the closed room and everyone's singing together. That's what we did. And so a lot of us, I would say about half the staff at one point was all smushed together in this little room, and we were all singing karaoke quite badly, I might add.
All right, so how many were singing Sweet Caroline?
You know what? No one sung Sweet Caroline.
What?
But it was cool. We sang I Will Survive. My boss was hilarious in her version of I Will Survive. I sang Walk Like an Egyptian with one of my coworkers. We both did the P-Funk One Nation Under group, which apparently is like the longest song ever. At one point, we're just like, dude, how many musical interludes is in this song?
My thing is, okay, wait a minute. I'm a little concerned about it because I'm like, well, maybe not concerned because it is a very long song, but it doesn't have a whole lot of lyrics in it.
Yeah, as we found out.
Okay.
But it was one there that you could sing. But no, it was a great time, and it was an opportunity to see some of my coworkers in a slightly different light. So shout out to the great people at Punch Bowl Social for hosting us. It was
it'd been
really,
funny if they
really
called
great.
it Ice Cream Social.
No.
That'd been cute.
The other highlight of my week besides that, oh my gosh, and Big Daddy has been hearing this all week long.
All over the world.
All week. But for those of you who may not know me, and those of you who do, I'm a huge, like I cannot even quantify how huge of a Missy Elliott fan I am. I love Missy Misdemeanor Elliott. And if you don't know who she is, she's a rapper, she's a producer, she writes. I mean, name an artist from the 90s, and odds are Missy has done music for them or with them.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Sierra, I'm talking about Diddy, I'm talking about Janet Jackson. She's done a lot of great music with Timbaland.
Yeah, my favorite thing about Misdemeanor is the fact that in the 90s she was actually in 2 huge female anthems. Ladies' Night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And also Moulin Rouge.
Oh, that's right. She was part of the Moulin Rouge group. Yes. Yeah. Like I said, if you name like a song back then, Missy had her hand in it somewhere.
You ain't gonna be having me up in here just singing hooks. Exactly. Would I look like Patti LaBelle or somebody?
So this week was all about Missy Elliott. First of all, she dropped this really great mini album that's called Iconology, which if you have like, Apple Music, Tidal, it's basically streaming anywhere. Spotify. I listen to it on Amazon Music. They have like 7 tracks I think on it, including the track that she debuted with called "Throw It Back," and it is every bit an old school groove. It took me back in the day. I cannot recommend this album enough. But then on top of that, this week the MTV VMAs. I don't think they even call them the Video Music Awards anymore. I think they just call them the VMAs, which is hilarious because as we know, they don't play videos.
They don't do video
on MTV.
music very often. Yeah.
But we were around long enough to know, we remember that was actually a thing. So they still keep the VMA awards for those old school cats who are wondering about that.
They just want to, like, we're going to call it the VMAs because we want to be, like, hip.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, stay relevant that way.
But every year they give away what's known as the Michael Jackson Vanguard Award. And this year's award winner, long overdue, I say decades overdue, was Missy Misdemeanor Elliott.
I can't wait for her to get a Kennedy Center honor.
She needs it. Seriously, yeah. She is amazing.
She's a national treasure.
So she performed at the VMAs, and if you haven't seen her performance, please go to YouTube. You have my permission to pause our podcast. Go to YouTube, check it out. I think it has now like 20 million views or something ridiculous like that.
Wow.
But it's Missy doing 6 minutes of all of our favorite old school hits from, she started off with Throw It Back, which is absolutely every bit a bop. And then she moved from Throw It Back to Work It, Super Duper Fly, I Can't Stand the Rain. She did Pass That Dutch. She did Get Your Freak On. Like, seriously. And it wasn't just that she was performing. Part of the cool thing about Missy Elliott that was so amazing was, one, in a field that it's heavily male dominated.
Yes. A
lot of her lyrics and who she is was very much so celebrating her as a woman. And the fact that Missy Elliott wasn't your typical, rapper of the 90s. So she didn't, look like Little Kim or,
She didn't have, the Trina or, Throw It Back girl, wasn't looking like, I guess, new form is like Cardi B and Nicki Minaj type thing. Kind of like script look.
Right. Missy looked like an average human being. And she celebrated that. And
But she was extraordinary.
For me especially, it's like in the 90s, just kind of accepting the fact that, I'm a little subversive. I'm an oddball. I'm not going to be one of those people that just blend in. Missy was every bit of an icon for me. And her videos not only celebrated that, but they were just visually stunning with all of the special effects and just the emphasis and some of the things that she had on her tracks. And it was every bit, it was like being taken back in time watching her perform at the VMAs and some of the things that she did. At one point when she performed Pass That Dutch, they actually had this giant spaceship that was over the audience and it was sucking audience members out of the audience. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the group over here completely lost all realms of control.
Oh.
Got to lose control. No, she was, Jay over here was just completely off the top, excited.
Oh, and what totally made me lose my shit?
What's that?
Was one of her most iconic videos is a song called Work It. It's actually one of my favorite by Missy. And there's this woman, her name is Allison Stoner.
Allison Stoner.
So you may remember her as the little pigtailed girl that was in Work It, that at one point was dancing around.
Oh, the little cutie girl, yeah.
Yes,
she was
MTV brought her back. So when it was time for her to perform Work It, literally, she got on stage, and that's when I lost it. I was texting Big Day, yes, she's back. I'm sure I was bugging you at work, but I'm serious. If you haven't seen her performance yet, watch it. It is amazing. It is so much fun. It's every bit a throwback. It's every bit what I remember at the VMAs, because I remember back in the day, I never missed a VMA performance, and now I'm just I don't know half these people, and I don't want to know.
I don't even know 90% of them. I'm just I'm just gonna let my old man freak fly and be yeah. I'm just gonna sit here and just be chill. But I gotta give Missy credit because if for nothing else, hey, she got a Video Vanguard Award and hell, a couple months ago. Who the hell has Michelle Obama in a car karaoke with James Corden rapping your stuff?
Yes, that's
you
right.
in the back seat.
Yes. Missy is everything, y'all.
Yeah.
So if you are not tuned in to who Missy Elliott is, seriously, Google is free. Try it out.
Oh, hell yeah.
But that totally made my week. I'm serious. I've seen that performance now within the past couple of days since she got the award at least 3 times. In fact, right before we started recording, I realized that Big Daddy hadn't seen it, and I'm like, oh no, we can no longer be friends if you don't see Missy perform. So I played it for him, and he got his life too, and it was amazing. So congratulations to Missy Elliott. You are everything you so deserve. And that just kind of wrapped up for me what was a crazy week of, finalizing grants and talking to funders and having meetings with executives and singing karaoke and eating my heart out at Fogo de Chao. Yeah, she was like the icing on my cake. So that pretty much just made my week complete.
That's right. Missy Elliott and Meat Sweats.
Exactly. Yeah. We should name the podcast that Missy Elliott and Meat Sweats.
No. Missy and Meat Sweats, y'all. Mr. Me and Meats. Yeah.
So she pretty much did so much stuff. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite Missy Elliott song?
Before I walked into this, of course I would think it would have been Son of a Gun because, that was my girl
with
Janet.
Her and Janet? That was good fun.
Because, I've always known that. But yeah, that was like Janet going completely divergent. But yeah, my absolute, as I have explained to the Goober, my absolute favorite Missy track will always be Gossip Folks. Because she went old school, new school, like Uptown, brought everybody that she could and threw it in the video. Even on the remixes, it was tight. But yeah, Missy was, she was off the top with that. That's gotta be my favorite.
Yeah, because that's the one. Because when we were talking before we started recording, I couldn't remember it until you played me the video. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yes, that's the one with Luda. Yeah. And then who was the bus driver again? It was
DMC or Run DMC.
Yeah, it was amazing. And that was one of the fun things about watching her videos back in the day. Her videos was kind of like must-see television because there were always people jumping in and out of her videos. Like, we replayed her videos and we're like, damn, I forgot Trina was in this. Yeah. I forgot Diddy was in this video. Like, Diddy was in Super Duper Fly. I totally forgot that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the fluffy suits and everything, yeah.
Exactly. And there's just, it's one of those things where when you watch the artistry of what she puts out, you could watch her videos several times and discover something new.
All right, so strap it down. What's your jam?
Oh my gosh. Well, my jam is, it's Get Your Freak On. Okay. I love Get Your Freak On. Get you. I have been in cars with people and have lost my shit when Get Your Freak On. And I've stunned people because they're like, I didn't know you had that in you. Yes. Like that one line when she's like, is that your chick? Yes. I scream it out every time I hear it on the radio. I love that line. I know. But yeah, Get Your Freak On is really good. I really love Working as well. And you know what? It's so funny because I used to not like Super Duper Fly. And now I do. It's grown on me over the years. Yeah,
it's definitely nouveau. It's just one of those things like, it's an acquired taste, but once you hear it enough times, it's like, it really sticks in you. It's a good stick to your bones type track.
But even the stuff that she did with other people where she was featured on, like 1-2 Step. Like Sierra's 1-2 Step. People forget that Missy's like a major part of that. Janet's Son of a Gun, Missy is on several of the remakes, including there's this one really fun remix that I played for Big Daddy for the first time, I don't think you heard, where it was the one where it was like Carly Simon, Janet Jackson, Missy Elliott, and Puffy.
Right. Okay.
So it was really, really... just the work she's done.
Oh, yeah. 1 Minute Man with Jay-Z.
Oh, yeah. 1 Minute Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's just so much stuff that she has done. And so much of modern music owes themselves to her and her contributions. And it's really cool to see like a whole generation. In fact, that's one of the things about Throwback that's kind of interesting because the video even starts off with this little girl's asking who Missy Elliott is. And I'm just like, when I saw that, I was just like, how could there be like a generation of people who don't know? I'm offended. But then I thought, yeah, maybe people, especially, younger people don't realize how much of modern music owes themselves from video to the music styles of Missy.
Yeah, I don't know if, like, half these folks know who Janet was, but I'm like, it'd be a shame to start backhanding folks just for... It's like disrespecting the queen. Before Beyonce, there was Janet, But yeah, misdemeanor, like Missy Elliott, like, when she started out, like, doing these tracks with Timbaland, it was like, blowing up all over the place. And now she's basically coming to her own as hella vanguard, as a marker for how to establish art on, video.
Yeah, so congrats to her again. Thank you for making my week amazing. Please check out our performance in the VMAs. Since we're talking about the VMAs as well, if you happen to Google or go on YouTube and check out our performance, the other thing that made me smile is I'm a huge Lizzo fan, and Lizzo performed 2 of her biggest hits, Truth Hurts and Good as Hell, on the VMAs. And that was the other thing I showed you. Yeah. And even Big Daddy, who's not like a modern music fan, I think we've talked about it jokingly that your taste in music stopped around
2006.
Exactly.
Everything just kind of fell off. I'm like, if you want to bring me some 21 Savage or some Kendrick Lamar, I'll listen to it, but at the same time, everything that I bombed out.
I played them.
Yeah, I'm cool with him and everything, and him and Chance and whatever. It's all great and all, but basically, if you ask me what's in my headphones, it started before, 2006 and earlier.
Yeah, well, even Big Daddy loved Lizzo's performance, and she just killed it. So shout out to her as well, because I have to say that was everything. And so all of that contributed to what would have been a really tough week for me and made it a lot better. So yay.
I'm also going to do something that I know I'm going to get my ass whooped for this.
Okay.
Straight up and down. I mean, after seeing, the VMA performance and whatever, it was like, she made a lot of girls feel very good about themselves. And, I like to see positive role models and whatever. And she just has this energy. I know she's come from a deep background, listened to a couple of different podcasts or different interviews with her, and she's done really great things. It's just one of those things where, like, watching a VMA performance, like, did give me life. And I was, like, truly impressed, background scene notwithstanding. But it was
the giant butt.
The giant, yeah. It was funny, but, like, one of the things is, like, I have just really, for a person who's not, really into the modern music, whatever, like, her ability, she kind of reminds me a little bit of a motion, like, because she can do so many things, and plus, like you said, she can play, what was it, the flute?
Yes.
And
when Lizzo breaks out the flute, that gives me life. That is so cool.
Yeah. But one of the things is I have really grown to love Lizzo as a person. She is just one of the few people I could just say is really beautiful inside and out. She is really a beautiful person. I have grown to, like, be crushing on Lizzo right now.
Well, I don't think anyone would whoop your butt for that. I'm kind of crushing Lizzo too. She's just amazing.
Yeah, but I'm like saying, like, in front of my own woman, so I have to be careful.
Well, trust me, I'm not jealous.
Okay.
Lizzo is pretty amazing. And you're right, she's really fun in interviews. In fact, if you watch the VMAs on YouTube, while you're there, check out her interview that she did with Trevor Noah as part of The Daily Show.
Okay.
It was really a fun and jovial time. She's having a great time with it, so loved it. So this wraps up the segment of how our week went. We're going to take a quick break before moving on into the pop culture section. And this one's a little shorter, and I apologize for those of you listening and noticed this segment's a little bit shorter than normal, but that's because we wanted to really dig in.
We're going to dig in.
We're going to dig in. We're going to bring our napkins and really talk about the juiciness that was Chicken War 2019.
Dun, dun, dun.
Exactly.
Boom, boom, boom.
So we're going to break it down in our next segment about who won, who lost, the desperation that some people have experienced trying to get their hands on Popeye's chicken sandwich, and give our thoughts on who truly is the best.
Yeah, we're going to get extra crispy with
it. Exactly. So we'll talk about all that and more in our pop culture segment, What's Eating Us, coming up next. But we'll take a short break right now. And you're listening to the Gourmet Goober. We'll be right back.
Zippy, zippy, zippy.
Hey everybody, this is JJ Outlaw, better known as the Gourmet Goober. And have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions, like how do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all those apps that people like to listen to? Hey, how do I even make money from my podcast? Well, the answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise in your podcast. This means that you get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's kind of what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. I love Anchor. It makes it super easy from start to finish. The whole process can be done from the app, from recording to distribution. I just adore it. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and while making money doing so, just go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Gourmet Goober podcast. This is JJ Outlaw, and I'm here with my co-host and hubby, Big Daddy, and we are talking about what we love about pop culture this week, and the segment that we like to call What's Eating Us. Before we went on break, you guys may have heard us wax nostalgically for Missy Elliott and her contributions to music and how her new album Iconology kind of really made my week. The other thing, before we dive really into the chicken war of 2019, I'm sorry, war. That just makes me laugh every time I think about the Great Chicken War.
Yeah, it's like, what did y'all say? Like, it was like chicken endgame?
Exactly. It was like chicken endgame. Exactly.
Yeah.
And where Thanos snapped his fingers and all the Popeye's chicken.
Yeah, I was wondering what, in the previous podcast, like, when Thanos was, up in that bowl, like at the point of Endgame, like, when the Avengers showed up and whacked him,
You really thought he was making gumbo. That's what you said.
My original thought was he was making gumbo, but...
Nah, with the snack, he was making all the chicken disappear.
That's right. But we're going to get into that.
We're going to get into that in a moment. But there is one thing that Big Daddy brought over during our break that I thought it was hilarious enough that we need to acknowledge, because it's one of those like weird pop culture things that happen and you're just like, what? Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have heard, but a couple of days ago, Hasbro, and if that name sounds familiar, it's because you, like millions of children around the world, are probably familiar with their properties. Everything from My Little Pony to the Transformers to G.I. Joe to Play-Doh. Hasbro.
To Monopoly.
Yes, to Monopoly and some of the most iconic games that are out there.
Mm.
The same company that owns all of that now owns Death Row's Records music.
Death Row.
Yes.
Yeah, that Death Row Records.
That Death Row Records. So, you may have heard that there was a deal that was signed at the end of August where Hasbro paid $4 billion to obtain the assets of a company that's called Entertainment One. And if parents out there who are listening know Entertainment One, that's probably because your kid is watching that popular British show on PBS called Peppa Pig.
The ornery little pig.
Yes. Oh my God. First of all, we don't have children. We've talked about this before. But I have friends who have children, and they absolutely hate Peppa Pig. They think Peppa is the devil because Peppa is rude as hell. And to point that out, I never really realized that until I was watching one of my favorite shows on Showtime, Desus and Mero, where they were talking. What was it? Peppa was asking this person about whistling.
Yes.
and the kid she was on the phone with some kid, and she's like, "Do you know how to whistle?" And the kid starts whistling, and Peppa just hung up on him.
Yeah, just basically left him in mid. I'm like, all right, there goes the phone. I'm like, I've had enough of you, my little British snout. I mean nothing to you.
I saw that and laughed my ass off, and I'm just thinking, okay, one, it's probably not good that I'm a parent because I probably would laugh and encourage my kids to have this horrible behavior. But apparently Peppa's the worst. But millions of kids love Peppa Pig. Mm-hmm. So Hasbro naturally thought, hey, we're going to buy the access to Peppa Pig because we make toys. And lo and behold, when they bought the assets to Entertainment One, they also bought the music from the fabled label started by Suge Knight in the 90s. Because what happened was Death Row went bankrupt back in 2006. And amongst the many buyers that purchased the music over the years was Entertainment One. And they bought this for $280 million back in the day. And now those assets, along with Peppa Pig, sold for $4 billion. So think about it. And so for those of you who are listening who don't know what Death Row is, Death Row was this notorious
it was West Coast gangster rap. Yeah, like yes. It was started by Marion. That's why I'm gonna say it, because otherwise, if I just keep saying Marion Suge Knight, I'm gonna get my ass whipped.
Yeah,
but other things, but yeah, like
Suge is kind of notorious. Like, what was he like? I'm not even gonna say.
No. He basically started off as like a guy who, like, when you had like rappers on tour, he covered some guys and he did some biz because he would handle security, yes, as you will for handling things. But yeah, if you watch the movie Straight Outta Compton, one of the things is that in 1991, Suge Knight, who was part of the Bloods, the notorious LA street gang, he started a record label to get Dr. Dre away from Interscope,
yeah,
and NWA. He put some money together with Dr. Dre and one of Dr. Dre's top proteges at that time, the DOC, in 1981, and they basically started out Death Row Records, and Suge Knight basically became the founder, the CEO, the mother who handled things,
the head enforcer.
Yes. He was the head, and he was the NIC. We're just gonna say it like that.
Yes, we're just gonna say it like that.
Yeah.
And if you guys wondering, like, hey, they kind of sound scared of Suge Knight, that's because
we're scared of Suge Knight.
We're scared of Suge Knight. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Suge Knight, back in the day when I was a kid, like, I wouldn't even into rap like that, but I knew not to F with Suge Knight.
Yeah,
in fact, he very famously didn't he hold. What was it?
Yeah, they were just
Vanilla Ice. He held him outside the window,
upside down, like,
because Vanilla Ice stole some of his music in Ice Ice Baby.
Yeah, they was doing some straight Godfathers.
Yeah,
like some straight Goodfellas type stuff to him.
Suge Knight was kind of notorious for that, but that said,
even now that the dude's still up. I think he's still up in the penal system, but
yes.
I ain't talking, bad about Suge, because...
No. Mr. Knight, we're not talking bad about you. We're just sharing what we know.
Yeah, I think the thing that I need to introduce this is, what's funny about this is, when I was trying to do my little look on this, one, we dealing with, Hasbro, which, as you said, had, the Transformers and G.I. Joe, My
Mr.
Little
Potato
Pony,
Head.
Mr. Potato Head, and Monopoly and whatever, is basically went into business under the same corporate umbrella as Death Row, which also had Warren G, Nate Dogg, Snoop, the Great Tupac, and of course with Dre. But also there was some other people that were under the Death Row umbrella that I was just like, wait a minute. And they were short stints. Trust me, some of them were one record, type deals, or at least they just basically didn't do good albums, and should just shut that off real quick. But we got some names in here, and this is funny because you have to bear with me. This is Wikipedia.
Okay.
But we talking about dudes from of course you had the DLC, and you had him, but remember with Snoop, he did a bid before he got in with No Limit and Master P. But so of course Snoop on there. But there was also some cats on here. Like you remember? I'm sorry, cats and females. Remember the Lady of Rage? I rock
Oh,
rough and stuff with my Afro puffs.
yeah, Lady of Rage was part of the row?
Yeah, she did time with the row.
Okay.
Okay, but you also had people, like for a minute, there was actually an album with Lisa Left Eye Lopez.
Ah.
There was a dude like remember like back with like I think it was I don't think you may have known like K Solo. He
No.
did a minute I want to say it was like Headbanger with EPMD and Redman. But also uh one of the things that intrigued me was like there was actually a deal you remember like when MC Hammer tried to go hard
Oh, yeah.
and he was running with like did like a song or two with like with Pac and whatever.
Was that the Pumps and a Bump song?
I think this was like Pumps and a Bump and like kind of maybe a little bit after that for a minute.
That was hilarious because I'm like, dude, you're not hardcore. You have a Saturday morning cartoon called Hammerman.
That's right.
No one believes that. But yeah, I did know that was the case as well. So, yeah. So I've just obviously we're going to talk about the Great Chicken War, but it was enough where we were talking about it since we're already in a musical vein, talking about Missy, and I'm just like, dude, Mr. Potato Head and Pop.
That's right.
Together.
Just
So
couldn't
what's-
happen. Oh, wait, my favorite. I'm sorry.
What?
Oh, Jeff Rabbit. Remember, this is also the record, like, when, during the time of, Death Row, do you
Mhm.
remember, like, one of the things that really should have had their own doll? You remember, No Lies with Michelet?
Yeah, that was his ex-wife.
Yeah. Think about Michelet doing Hasbro.
Okay,
Like, doing,
stop.
doing, like, voiceovers.
Stop. First
That
of all,
was, that was 1,000 watts of great right there.
You know what? I'm not even sure whether to laugh or to say anything about that, because one, apparently her relationship with Suge Knight was really, really awful. In fact, there is a Lifetime movie that was made about it, because I guess Suge Knight and she was also with Dr. Dre, and they were both horribly abusive to her. And if you don't know who Michelet is, Google it. Her name is spelled like Michelle, but it's
there's an
pronounced
apostrophe
Michelet.
in there somewhere.
Right, there's an apostrophe in there somewhere. She's notorious for having this incredible singing voice, but having a very, very, like, almost childish, squeaky speaking voice. But that said, yeah, Michelet did. Doll, that would have been interesting, but yeah.
Sings like this.
Stop.
Talks like this.
Stop.
No disrespect to Michelet. She had a jam back then.
Yeah, she had a jam. but yeah, that said, I mean, just the idea that Hasbro would have that, it's kind of wild. So, yeah, the details about it, I've read a couple articles in Forbes and other places are really interesting, so I encourage you to Google it.
Okay.
Just curious, what was your favorite Death Row artist or song? Because I know for me, and it's I'm a huge Tupac fan, and I think California Love is like forever a jam. You always hear it everywhere. The idea that, you could be listening to Pac in a commercial with that, it's still mind-blowing to me. But yeah, just curious, what was your favorite?
Okay. I was trying to go through like all the different joints with Dre and Snoop. There was a part of me that was trying to figure out like what was on Row and what was kind of like afterwards. They were still collaborating like after that, and I was also trying to make sure like with Warren G and Nate Dogg if like Regulate was on there, but actually I'm not the biggest like Pac dude because like in the East Coast West I was always a Notorious B.I.G. dude, but like
he was an East Coast person.
Yeah, he was definitely East Coast, but at the same time, my best like Death Row compo was definitely All Eyes on Me by Tupac.
Oh yeah. That whole album was amazing. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, that's that. So like I said, if you're interested in it, I mean, obviously this is not a music podcast, so we're not going to talk about it a lot, but we can't talk about pop culture without talking about the weirdness that is, Mr. Potato Head and Plato and Pac. That said, I'll be waiting for my Mr. Potato mixtape because you know what? If Kool-Aid can drop a mixtape and Hamburger Helper, why not Mr. Potato Head?
Hell yeah.
I'm down with that. I'm waiting for that mix. I think, honestly, if Hasbro owns that and there's no Play-Doh mixtape, that is a missed opportunity for them.
That would be tight.
I think that would be hella tight.
Just as long as, like, when you put the Mr. Potato Head on, like, you make sure you give him a mouth to rap with.
Yeah, Mr. Potato Head go gangsta and have him open his mouth and have Snoop's voice come out. That would be everything.
That would be, like, it'd be funny, like...
I would pay for that.
It'd be some crazy shit, like G.I. Joe and Josie or something.
Yes! So, we cannot even begin to touch pop culture without saying a moment and just taking a moment for Popeyes. Because...
Yeah, it's going to be more than a moment.
They have truly won the last 2 weeks in pop culture
Or
with
more.
their part in the Great Chicken Wars.
The Great Chicken Wars.
Of 2019.
Basically, all these places knew. When I walked up in the door, they know that I wanted the chicken. They wasn't playing. I wanted the chicken.
And if you're not familiar, first of all, seriously, I don't know how you've lived over the last couple of weeks and not heard about the Popeyes chicken sandwich, but in a nutshell, 2 weeks ago, Popeyes chicken rolled out, and I say 2 weeks ago, they rolled out nationwide, because I honestly think that Chicagoland was one of the places they test marketed this. Because I had the sandwich before it became popular on social media, but didn't realize it was the sandwich everyone was talking about. Yes, haha.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, people started talking on Twitter about the advent of this new incredible Popeye sandwich. And you could get it in two versions, right? Basically, it's the most basic sandwich. It was what? What kind of bread was it? Do you remember?
I thought it was like traditional, like, white bread.
No, it wasn't.
Bun.
No, I forget the type of bun. But basically, It was a bun, it was a pickle. You can get it in two various varieties. They were both fried chicken sandwiches. Mm-hmm. One with this incredible spicy remoulade that Popeye is known for. Kind of similar to what was on, if you listen to the podcast, the Alligator Poor Boy from last week. Mm-hmm. Or you can get it without, which it's still spicy, but it has like a basic mayo on it. And people started tasting it, and then they were saying, this is like light years better than the Chick-fil-A sandwich that they offered that was similar. Chick-fil-A got into their feelings.
Yeah, they got a little shook.
And so they tweeted Popeyes, and Popeyes laughed at their tweet, retweeted it, and said, y'all good. And then once Popeye threw down on Twitter, it was on. It
was on like Donkey Kong.
People started piling on. They started taking sides. And then the next thing you know, it was
like
this
a little
insane,
East Coast, West Coast. Yeah.
Yes, it literally was like an East Coast, West Coast thing. Exactly.
Yeah.
So basically, in a nutshell, without spending a single advertising dollar, because think about it. In these 2 weeks, you never once saw a commercial for this Popeyes chicken sandwich.
Yeah, social media became its own, advertising for free.
And then people went insane for it. So literally, just to give you an idea of how much social media had a say-so in this, by some estimates, business analysts are saying that Popeyes got $24 million and free social media advertising from people sharing their love of this sandwich, to the point where people were posting videos about it. They were talking about it on television. Gayle King documented on her hosting responsibilities on CBS this morning, and I watch it every morning because I'm one of those people, I don't really care about a lot of the pop culture stuff that are on the other shows. I just want the news before I go to work.
Okay.
And so it was hilarious seeing Gayle King talk about her struggles in getting her hands on the sandwich. And that's when I'm like, oh, this is big because now they're talking about it on the TV.
Oprah would have been like, hey, Oprah was like, hey.
Oprah probably had her own Popeyes franchise in her place.
She probably got it from Magic Johnson. She was like, Magic.
I don't know why she didn't call Oprah. Oprah had that sandwich.
Oprah was probably like, I deem this sandwich okay. Yeah.
But it was literally everywhere to the point where, get this, Popeyes only planned to have this sandwich out for a limited time, right, y'all? It was only supposed to be an initial 7-week run. They sold out completely of all the chicken cut for the sandwich in 2 weeks, to the point where they tweeted this hilarious video. They also put it on their YouTube channel, where basically it said, y'all, we are sold out. You broke us.
Yeah. Wow.
We literally broke Popeye's chicken.
You broke Popeyes.
And it was funny because I was texting Big Daddy like, they're out of the sandwich. And the depth by which that some people, the links rather, that some people went to get a sandwich was just insane. Like, I have a really good friend of mine that I maintain relationship with on Facebook. And she gave me permission to share the story. So I'm not going to use her name, but she gave me permission. She lives in Indianapolis. We went to high school together. So she posted several times over the course of a week her futile attempts to get her hands on such a sandwich.
Really?
To the point where, get this. So she went to this Popeyes franchise, right? They actually locked the doors.
They locked the doors.
Yes, you could not walk into the Popeyes to place an order. They only let people go through the drive-thru, right? So all of these cars were lined up around this franchise in their cars because they can't walk in to get a sandwich. She wasn't even able to get her hands on one. In fact, at one point, when she was close to placing the order, she said that the manager sent the employees out and they were knocking on windows and letting people know that they were sold out.
Did they also give them body armor?
No. Okay. Maybe they should have.
Could have protected them with some of the biscuits or something.
Yeah, but it got to the point where there's actually... Did you hear there's this dude who's suing because he didn't get his hands on a sandwich?
Yeah, I think I tweeted that out to you.
The hell?
Yeah.
Who sues because you don't get your hand on a chicken sandwich?
White people. I'm not trying to be like punk, but at the same time, I'm like, hey, I'm mad. Like, I'm gonna start yelling at folks, but I'm not gonna like run up in there and be like, no, I'm getting litigious with this. There will be no litigation because I'm gonna be mad. I'm being my feelings. I'm gonna ask, wait a minute, your name is Popeyes. Unlike KFC, like, yeah, your name is Popeyes. Y'all serve chicken, but y'all ain't got enough chicken for a chicken sandwich. But yeah, I'm not getting lawyers involved in this. Did they promise you that they were going to hand you a piece of chicken? No.
This guy was talking about how he was obsessed with it. And he was consumed, I think the lawsuit actually says, with the thought of getting chicken. Where he went to several franchises and was broken. That was sold out. First of all, I'm really surprised that you said that.
No, I'm surprised that I'm like hearing this, but I think the thing that got me was like, okay, I'm concerned about before this started. I wonder how many times has this dude been to a Popeyes? I mean, like a real in the neighborhood Popeyes, not just like, one that you found at the Oasis on like, some interstate. No, you probably have been to Popeyes maybe 10 times, this guy, gentleman. And now he's like, oh no, I didn't get my chicken sandwich like after everybody else did. No, I'm calling my lawyer friend. No,
Is that
it don't
like
work
the same as calling the manager?
Yeah, I demand to see the manager. No.
Okay.
The manager's name is Rollo, and Rollo ain't having this.
Okay, first of all, I love you, but I'm like really surprised you said that, but not really, because that's one of the things that...
You were thinking it.
Yes, I was.
Yes.
But I wasn't going to say it.
No, it's okay. I get it. I'm sure there were other people, whether or not from whatever ethnic or religious or consecrated background, But at the same time, come on, bruh.
Okay, the gourmet goober is not responsible. You know what? I'm not even going to say that.
Hey,
It is what it
where I
is.
am on Twitter. Please forgive me.
You know what? Okay, let's just be honest. I thought the same too.
Yeah.
And
but
look,
back to come on now. Back to the chicken
no one sues for missing out on the chicken. And
yes,
the hilarious part was that other restaurants couldn't let this be between Popeyes and Chick-fil-A.
no.
So other restaurants tried to jump in the fray.
That's
so,
right.
Like,
the other Avengers decided to show up at that moment.
So it's kind of like going back to the Avengers, that scene in Wakanda where they all show up and they decide to fight.
Yes, everybody jumped in this, and it was like, wait a minute, there was like 1 or 2 people, Popeyes, KFC, who were kind of like quiet for a while.
No, KFC didn't say anything.
Yo, that's right. Okay, KFC. They had other problems.
But Wendy's famously tweeted. In fact, there was this hilarious tweet back and forth where Wendy's was like making fun of them, and then Popeyes referred to their biscuits and say, "Hey, someone must have had one of our biscuits because you're thirsty for attention."
Wow.
And then Wendy's tweeted back, "So you admit your food is dry?" And I was like, "Oh snap! It's popping now between Popeyes and Wendy's on social media." But then, oh my god,
damn shame you have to go ride on Wendy's.
I know. Just Wendy's late at night, like looking outside before they leave.
Yeah, all of a sudden, like
waiting for the Popeyes people to come get them.
That's right. They're gonna wake up and for some reason, like the little redhead, logo is gonna have a little change on it.
The funny thing was, oh my god! And then Boston Market. Why did you see? Y'all could have just sat there and ate your food. Y'all could have really been quiet.
The Taylor Swift of cuisine, fast food cuisine, as you will. Wow. It's not even fast. Yes, Boston Market, that place. I know I'm not getting sponsorship from Boston Market, but
we're never getting sponsorship from Boston Market. Although we did pick up a new sponsor that we'll roll out next week.
Okay,
but assuredly it will not be Boston Market.
Yeah, Boston Market. I'm so sorry.
Boston Market decided to say, I don't know why they tweeted something to the effect of, I don't really know why everyone's talking about chicken sandwiches. Let's talk about our mac and cheese. And then, then I tweeted something nasty back about their mac and cheese being basic. Because it is. Their mac and cheese is basic as fuck. It's really... their mac and cheese is like good mac and cheese if you're used to the powdered cheese kind.
Mm-hmm. So it's like long back mac and cheese.
It is not good mac and cheese. Not at all.
Are you saying this is quite basic? You're saying it's quite simple, as you will.
Their mac and cheese, literally. If you guys have ever, who's listening, have ever had the Velveeta mac and cheese, it's literally Velveeta mac and cheese. But it's made with like that weird cheese. It's not Velveeta. It's
like cheese food.
No.
Okay. Powdered cheese food?
No. Have you ever gone to
I'm not
have you ever gone to a sporting event? No.
Okay.
And you've had the nachos. And you know how the nacho cheese is not really cheesy. It's like that weird, buttery, cheese.
Like gelatinous looking.
Yes. That's how Boston Market's mac and cheese is. It's covered with that, minus the jalapenos. It is not very good. And I was just like, you could have just stayed out of this.
So you're saying the jalapenos would have helped it?
The jalapenos could have really helped it.
Okay.
And then Shake Shack decided, everyone knows that we have the real... And then people started making fun of how expensive Shake Shack chicken sandwiches were, because the beauty of the Popeyes chicken sandwich is you got this huge substantial sandwich, and it was only $3. It was hella cheap.
Okay.
So that was why we were maybe Shake Shack should stay out of this.
Yeah, Shake Shack got all debouché, and all of a sudden they got the smacky. Yeah, I love Shake Shack and I love their food, but yeah, it does. I might take out a loan just to visit Shake Shack some days.
But the insane thing in all of this, you would think that KFC would have said something, right?
KFC.
But
They can't even like
KFC
say Kentucky
never,
Fried Chicken anymore.
yeah, KFC never responded back. And so someone on Twitter investigated, and it came up to what I believe is the biggest crime ever committed against fried chicken.
What was that?
To the point where, remember, we were in the car together, and I was just beforehand horrified, and you looked at me. We were on the way to the wedding.
Yes.
Yes! And I was like, oh my God. You guys, the reason why KFC stayed out of it, right, is their big chicken sandwich is the Cheetos chicken sandwich. So, it's a chicken sandwich topped with Cheetos. Cheetos, y'all. It has like this liquid, oily sauce that they call Cheeto sauce. And that is what they're selling as their big chicken sandwich. So, of course, when people started talking about it, and they're like, hey, why are we not hearing from KFC? And then they saw that on their menu, like, maybe that's why. To the point where I don't think I've ever saw a commercial for that either, but that looks... Ugh.
No, there's no good words for like somewhere Chester Cheetah is sitting here just smacking his head like he took off his glasses and just kind of he sat down.
I'm saying before we went into the wedding, we took a moment of silence for the chicken sandwich at KFC. It was... Yeah. So we're going to leave them out of the competition of the chicken wars?
No.
They clearly lost there, but...
They lost. You know what they lost with me? When I heard the test of the Beyond Meat.
Oh my gosh, yes. So the other reason why KFC was silent for the chicken wars is they're actually testing a Beyond Meat chicken substitute.
Yes.
For KFC.
Now they're trying to like catch, the Impossible Whoppers, like, smoke or whatever, like something like they're trying to jump on the Impossible Beyond beef-ish craze. So they're trying to go with something like a plant-based form of meat, as you will, to substitute for like, the caloric value of some of their chicken and other menu recipes.
At some point, and I respect expanding your menu to make sure that everyone can enjoy the experience.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of substituting, and I have a lot of vegetarian and vegan friends. Let me just preface this by saying it, but I don't.
I have a few, but I don't talk to them very often.
That is.
I respect their choices, but at the same time, yeah.
No.
I can only do so much.
But literally, the word chicken is in your name.
Yes. Kentucky Fried Chicken. I was right.
So the idea of having like fake chicken at a chicken place is a little disturbing to me, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I don't care if you throw it in like, I don't care if you throw in like, some nachos with some Beyond Meat or whatever, like, as a sub item or whatever, but at a certain point, if I show up and I ask for chicken and you show up and you give me something that's called Beyond Chicken, then I'm going to be beyond upset. I just can't, I'm sorry, I just can't get down with that. Like, I don't like being fooled. Or like, even if I knew that it was there, I'm sorry, I'm a little nerved by that, but I mean, I'm wow. That was your entry into the chicken wars.
They intentionally did that.
It's almost like as if, how like Popeyes and Chick-fil-A and like, some of the other, as you will, were trying to jump in on like, this big Avengers thing. And then all of a sudden it's like, it was almost as if like, some of the other ones who tried to jump in were like, my wife has this running joke about the affirmative action or like, the smaller end of the Super Friends.
Oh yeah, the affirmative the affirmative action of Super. Okay. If you guys have ever seen the Challenge of the Super Friends, it's like this 70s cartoon. I'm such a nerd. Mm-hmm. And it was all DC based characters, right? So there was like Batman and there's Superman and there's Wonder Woman,
Mm-hmm.
and there's Aquaman, and then somewhere around the 70s, someone said, we were leaving some people out. So that's what I call the affirmative action Super Friends, where they really didn't do anything. Like, you never see episodes that are built around, like, Apache Chief and Black Vulcan and, oh my gosh, there was an Asian.
It wasn't the Wonder Twins, was it?
No. It wasn't the Wonder Twins.
Okay.
They were just, they were there to replace those horrible mystery twins. We won't talk about them.
Okay.
The point I'm trying to make is, it was kind of like the lesser known Super Friends that were there to supposedly make children of color feel better watching the show, but really we're just like, oh, they're just there to do nothing.
Yeah, they had powers of some kind, but at the same time, they weren't as burst into all the different adventures of said cartoons.
Plus, they didn't do much. I mean, Apache Chief just grew tall, which is nice if you want to get a cat out of a tree, but really, there were no episodes that was saved by Apache Chief.
Yeah.
And Black Vulcan, I mean, he just had, what was it, that episode of Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, where they were making fun of how these characters were just used for nothing more than just a cheap trick to get kids to watch in the 70s.
Yeah.
And he famously said, yeah, what's your superpower? I just have 1,000 bolts of lightning in my pants. That was that.
1,000 bolts of lightning in my pants. Oh, yeah, baby.
So I think this is relating to the chicken wars, is you're saying that there were two major titans that were fighting, Chick-fil-A and Popeyes. And then they had the lesser known Super Friends trying to get in there and get their shine. Is that it?
That's right. They wanted their little piece of the action. All of a sudden, they try to jump in. All of a sudden, they get smacked down. Yeah. Don't jump in the battle royale if you ain't, got a dog in the fight.
Yeah, so clearly KFC is like the Aquaman. That's not the cool Aquaman that's Jason Momoa. We're talking the sad Aquaman that they used to make fun of in Entourage.
Yeah. But that's the thing, you had all these different places that could have, jumped in this, kind of like churches.
Yeah, you didn't hear from churches.
Yeah. There were a bunch of different, restaurants that, that make pretty decent chicken, as you will, that were either in it or not in it, or they were just kind of like, well, we're going to dip our toe in. No, if you in it, you in it. But if you ain't, just sit back and relax and just let people, the different regions enjoy your chicken.
One restaurant that we did hear from that made some noise on social media during this, and this is actually a real restaurant. Crazy name. It's actually called Shucking and Jiving.
Shucking and Jiving.
Yes, Shucking and Jiving. Believe it or not, is a restaurant that is known for soul food. It's a Miami-based restaurant.
Miami. Tiami.
And they posted, while Chick-fil-A and Popeyes are fighting, they don't want the smoke, and they posted pictures of their own sandwich. And then, of course, that brought a whole new listing on social media, going in on them, because, dude, your name is Shucking and Jiving. That's not really a positive name.
That's right. You can't.
Why don't you call it Step and Fetch It? Oh my God.
Yeah. As soon as you showed me the commercial on, was it on YouTube?
Yes.
Whatever. The first thing I was like, my favorite will always be, from Undercover Brother.
Oh, General's Fried Chicken?
Is butt kicking. General's Fried Chicken with the nappy pack.
Not the nappy pack.
Come on.
Not the one that came with the malt liquor.
That's right. But was it Coke 45?
Well, actually, it probably was, since it was...
Yes, the General and Undercover Brother was played by Lando Calrissian himself.
Billy D. Williams.
Billy D.
And I think he's contractually obligated anytime there's a malt liquor by him, it has to be Colt 45.
That's right. Part of the nappy pack, because his chicken is the bomb. Oh, come on, baby.
Okay, for those listeners who are listening and going, what the hell? This really went off this. Okay, first of all,
it's chicken.
Do yourself a favor.
Mm-hmm.
we talked about whether or not we're going to play the commercial on our podcast. We decided not to, but if you go to YouTube and go and look into search for Shucking and Jiving, you will see this whole commercial that is, you just have to see to believe. Involves a singing waitress who just goes there and her singing, and yeah, it's quite interesting.
It is quite interesting.
And in reference to the General's Fried Chicken, there's also a really great parody film that we recommend called Undercover Brother, and it's kind of a parody of the 70s. You know what? We should have brought that up in a Blaxploitation film conversation we had last week.
Yeah.
Because in many respects, Undercover Brother would fall like Black Dynamite as being a really good parody.
Yeah.
But one of the characters in the movie is a general that's retiring, that's played by Billy D. Williams. And, you know, there's all this great speculation. Is he going to run for president? Is he going to join the Senate? No. He decides to open up a stereotypical chicken joint.
Yeah.
With the catchiest theme song ever involving something called the Nappy Pack. And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. So as opposed to, you're going like a couple different directions with it, but yeah, it's like you have someone who's kind of like a Colin Powell type, professionalism, but at the same time, they took little elements of, as you would say, KFC's Colonel and kind of threw it together and threw a little shucking and jabbing on that.
And some malt liquor.
And some malt liquor.
Because, you know, every parody of a fried chicken place needs malt liquor. That just kind of wraps it up.
Yeah. Could have been St. Ives. You know, I did college, and I did drink.
Oh.
I had some OE
Don't
and
tell that story.
I had some St. Ives, yeah. I had some OE too.
You mixed it with something crazy.
No, this isn't the one about the, it wasn't the Shampipple. No.
The Shampipple.
No, we're not having the Fred Sanford type.
No.
No, this was, that was my cousin wanted he wanted some malt liquor, but somehow we ended up mixing Hypnotic and actual Cristal champagne.
Okay, that's horrifying.
I never said we were bright then.
No, you were not. And I'm glad you're still here after drinking that. So back to the Great Chicken Wars. Let me just say a disclosure, and I feel really bad because I know that there are a lot of listeners out there who wanted to get their hands on the chicken. And like I said, Popeye is sold out of the chicken completely, but they promise that they're going to bring it back soon. I
like the McRib.
I actually had... Okay. I got to have 2 chicken sandwiches at 2 separate times.
2 chicken sandwiches.
Okay, I didn't eat them at the same time, but like one time when I realized that this was all like, oh my God, this is like the chicken sandwich that I had before. Is it that sandwich? So I stopped by the Popeyes on Kenty, near where I work, and I had the spicy chicken sandwich, and it was everything. It was really dope, Mel. I mean, it was really hot and spicy and great pickles, and it was amazing. And it was a huge sandwich, right? You get like a really substantial like chicken breast with it.
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, when I started really picking up Steve online, I was like, oh, let me just... And it was one of those days that I had to go home because the internet was out of my office, and I had some things I needed to do at home. So on my drive home, in order to work from home and use my home's internet, I stopped by the local KFC, which oddly enough, there wasn't a crazy line. Okay. And I just maybe waited 10 minutes, got my chicken sandwich and brought it home, and I brought an extra for you.
Yes.
And at that point, I brought the classic, because I know you're not really into spicy food like I am. Mm-hmm. But it was a great opportunity for me both to taste it. So that said, I can vouch for it. It is really an incredible chicken sandwich. Now, is it worth suing Popeyes for if you didn't get your hand on it? I'm going to say no. I don't know where you're going with that, Mr. Lawsuit, but that is hilarious. But Big Daddy had a chance to try both the Popeyes and the Chick-fil-A because, disclosure, I've had Chick-fil-A before, and I really like Chick-fil-A, but I have a problem with some of the policies that the leadership has with Chick-fil-A because I have a lot of friends who are members of the LGBTQ, IA community. And for me to support a business that, and it's not the employees, because the employees are super nice, but the leadership and the ownership, a lot of that money goes to organizations that support things like, you know, just things that are anti-gay, anti-lesbian, anti-trans. And I have, like I said, friends and loved ones who fall in that community. So out of solidarity for them and trying to be an ally, you know, I know it's not much of a sacrifice in the grand scheme of things, but I kind of feel skizzy buying their, you know, their waffle fries, knowing that my money could ultimately hurt people that I love. Okay. So I don't choose to eat Chick-fil-A, but that said, I know a lot of people, even members of the LGBTQ community and friends of mine who do choose to eat it, and that's their prerogative. But that said, you actually had a chance to try both the Popeyes, and then you went and got a Chick-fil-A sandwich for a comparison, right?
Yes, within 4 to 5 hours in between. So,
having tried both, who do you think won the chicken war? Because you would probably be the person to address it in the segment.
See, that's the thing. I did, you know, my wife did deliver a very nice Popeyes chicken sandwich. Let's say about noon. I ate it. It was very, very good, very, very warm, very succulent. Had a good flavor to it. Oh man, it was a nice piece of. I assume it was made from the breast of a chicken, and I was like, oh, I really like the taste of it because it was nice, warm, and juicy, and it came in a nice little package and everything. And so I then hopped on a train, went to downtown Chicago, then went downstate and grabbed a Chick-fil-A sandwich with some waffle fries because, you know, I'm a big fan of, you know, the waffle fries, even if it is biggity chicken. But I'm like, okay, cool. So I went and I sat down in my office and I partook of the Chick-fil-A sandwich. And I'm willing to say Chick-fil-A had a really nice sandwich. It was very tasty, I do admit. Like, you know, I had to warm it up real quick in the microwave because it had been a little time. But honestly, I really believe that Popeyes outdid themselves and they stepped up the bar. Some of it was on the sauce, but some of it was on just the fact that Popeyes chicken, as you will, was just, when it's like good and fresh and it has the right amount of crispiness to it, but also the fact that like the interior meat was so nice and rich and succulent, as you will, a little bit more succulent and juicier than the Chick-fil-A, which is a little drier. I'm willing to say Popeyes was the winner, one. But two, I like to also harken back to, not so much for this one, but like way back to when, remember I talked about the hack the idea with Popeyes, with one of their, like, you know,
with the Philly cheesesteak sandwich.
With the Philly cheesesteak sandwich from, you know, Philly's finest out of Chicago.
Right.
And then going to Popeyes and getting like a chicken breast and ripping it up. And then putting it in your
Philly steak.
Now, granted, I'm not sure how this chicken sandwich from Popeyes and trying to put that in a Philly cheesesteak would work, but
right.
Sometimes when you get a good fresh Popeyes batch of chicken, if you get like a 2-piece or whatever, or some tenders, and they're fresh, and you really get a good succulent original batch, Popeyes is some damn good chicken, like, you know, for a typical fast food area. I'm also intrigued by the fact that I realized something kind of funny when you were talking about it. I think in all the years I've been around and dealt with Popeyes, I have never been to a Popeyes drive-thru.
Really?
Yeah. I don't believe I have ever been in a Popeyes drive-thru window.
You know what? I think I may have gone through once or twice when I was a child, because growing up back in the day, there was only one Popeyes in Indianapolis, and it was on 38th Street for a long time.
Okay.
So, and it was one of those, 38th Street is completely revitalized now. It's going through a transition. But back in the day, 38th Street, there were some sections that were known as questionable. And so, yeah, my parents, whenever we went to go to Popeyes, we would go through the drive-thru. Interesting.
No,
I never
and
thought of that.
no, and that's the thing. Like, okay, I will freely admit that yes, when I was younger, that like yeah, when my mother got paid and whatever, she would go to the grocery store on a Friday. That yeah, she went through because one of the things growing up that I loved when I was a little kid was I forgot exactly when they made them, but like when Popeyes had these like little nuggets.
Oh yeah. Those are good.
When I was a little kid, like yeah, she would go through the drive-through, and we would get these nuggets, and for some reason, like their nuggets, for some reason, at that point were spicy to me, but I did go through drive-through, but like since I was an adult, I've never gone through a Popeyes drive. Like I've always like done the walk-in. I guess the same thing for the most part could be said. Like very rarely have I ever gone through a KFC drive-through. I like to like walk in and like actually see them put the chicken in the box because some places might be shady. But yeah, for the most part, to answer your question, yes, I would like to believe Popeyes won this, but Chick-fil-A does put out a good product.
So,
No, hold up. What did you feel like? If you partaken of Popeyes and then like Chick-fil-A.
well, the thing is, I've had Chick-fil-A before. Now, granted, I have not eaten Chick-fil-A in full disclosure in well over a year. It was just one of those personal commitments that I've made after talking with a good friend of mine, who explained, their thoughts on it. And after thinking about what they had to say, like I said, that was just my personal choice. And I'm not begrudging anyone for making that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, their waffle fries are the bomb. Let me just say that. That said, that Popeyes was a hell of a sandwich. So much so that I had to. So I harking back to earlier in the segment when I was talking about my friend who was stuck in the drive-thru.
She's still mad.
And I had to get her permission to like share her story because, I want to be respectful of her privacy. But at the same time, I felt like I had to tell her that I've actually had 2 of the sandwiches because she never got one before they sold out.
You mad, bro?
Stop. And I didn't want her to find out on the podcast like, oh yeah. But that said, no, it is an incredible sandwich. Now, am I shocked that it took off the way it did on social media?
I was shocked, yeah.
Yes, and I'm sure Popeyes was shocked too, judging by their response. But that said, it was an amazing sandwich, and it was kind of something fun that everyone kind of got in on, the excitement of the saga of the chicken sandwich before it dropped out and disappeared. I hope that Popeyes doesn't wait too long in bringing it back so they can stay on that momentum because, hell, think about that. They sold out of 7 weeks worth of chicken in 2 weeks without airing a single commercial. They aired not one commercial
about
the chicken sandwich. Think about it. You didn't see it.
Nothing from Chicken Annie at all.
Yes. So I just think this is one of those brilliant pop culture foodie moments that's kind of all blended together, and it was hysterical. I'm glad that I was a part of it.
You were part of the frenzy.
I was part of the frenzy.
I think the thing that was just funny to me is like I always had this thing about when I harken back to like what's been going on with the chicken wars. All I think about is that that thing that when we saw George Wallace in Vegas when he was talking about the one thing you learn about is that chicken has got to be the only animal on Earth
that doesn't live a natural death.
Does not die of natural causes.
So on behalf of all the chickens that met its maker during the chicken wars, we want to say we apologize for that. And
you
for
can
the
apologize, but good.
Yes, and for the Popeyes workers who we know was working around the clock and had to knock on the windows, we salute you too because obviously you guys are the real MVP.
Yeah,
but
the Lord's work.
We survived together as a nation the Great Chicken War, and considering all the other madness that is going on, the fact that we can come together over a chicken sandwich is actually pretty dope.
I'm trying to figure out in my head, like, what's going to be the biggest thing upcoming, like, in the next, like, few weeks? Like, is it the chicken sandwich when it comes back? Is it going to be, like, the McRib? Because, around the time the McRib always comes out.
Well, we know what it is.
But
and it's funny, all these people were making fun of us and saying, oh, all these people are excited over the chicken sandwich, but you won't vote. First of all, that's a fallacy, and that's not true. Mm-hmm. But secondly, I have seen people fight over pumpkin spice lattes.
Yeah.
And it's eventually pumpkin spice latte season.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's going to be the bigger thing right now. Let me just say, PSL is real. Just as real as Uggs.
Yes.
It's stressing in that culture. So, yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. The pumpkin spice latte will win the war.
Yes.
We'll take everyone out, but yeah. I give, Popeyes love for trying.
So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to close out talking as we always do with the best thing that we ate this week.
Mm.
And again, you're listening to the Gourmet Goober. We'll be right back.
Mm.
Hey, I'm JJ Outlaw, better known as the Gourmet Goober. Let me ask you something. Do you love conversations about hit snacks? Deep philosophical discussions on why, I don't know, corn dogs should be called meat Twinkies? Or why Love and Hip Hop Atlanta has the right level of ratchet? Well, if you've answered yes to any of these questions, you might be a goober, which is why you should be a part of our bi-weekly podcast where we tackle life's most important foodie and pop culture questions like why community fries should be a thing. And if you love the Gourmet Goober podcast, how about supporting us? You can give us a 5-star review on Stitcher and iTunes. You can drop us a line at theggourmetgoober@gmail.com. You can advertise with us, or you can visit anchor.fm/gourmetgoober, click the support this podcast button, and put just $5 on it to help support independent media. So, if you're a goober like me, no worries. Just join us here at the Gourmet Goober, be a part of our bi-weekly podcast, and support us now at anchor.fm/gourmetgoober. Thanks for listening. Back to the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Gourmet Goober podcast. This is JJ Outlaw, and as always, I'm here with my hubby and co-host, Big Daddy, aka T Outlaw.
AKA that dude.
And this is the part of the podcast where we usually wrap up every podcast talking about the best thing we ate this week. But before we do, there's one cool thing that I wanted to share with the audience. So earlier this summer, we had an opportunity to be interviewed for a podcast that is really amazing called The Chef's Table. It is hosted by a chef. He goes by the name Chef Salty Pork. He owns multiple restaurants in this area. And he actually interviewed us about the Gourmet Goober, and from everything from the origins of the nickname to I divulged a secret love of food that I haven't really talked about publicly before. But no, it was really a fun interview, and it's now available. So I'll put the link in the show notes. You can also listen to it. I think I just posted it on thegourmetgoober.com. But shout out to Chef Salty Pork and the team at the Chef's Mill. Thank you so much for making us feel welcome. It was really a great time, and I hope you guys get a chance to listen to it because it was really awesome.
It was really fun.
Yes. So that said, we wanted to wrap up the segment as we always do, talking about the best thing we ate this week. And as usual, we start with Big Daddy because, you always share something really cool and amazing. So what was the best thing you had this week?
The best thing I had this week. Over the last 2 weeks, I've partaken of a lot of different dishes. Some good, some bad, some a little ugly. And you would think that I actually shocked the goober over here she thought that I was going to end with something from Fogo de Chao, and trust me, the bacon wrapped chicken and the bacon wrapped filet samples from the samples, as you will, from Fogo de Chao was absolutely wonderful. My favorite of these choices. But I went home style, and my choice for the best thing I ate this week actually came from the Gourmet Goober.
Aww.
Lord forbid. I still haven't gotten my gumbo, but
the gumbo is coming, people. The gumbo is coming.
The gumbo is coming, y'all. But yes, what I had this week was she asked her, or she had asked me, as you will, if there was something I haven't had in a while, not just randomly said, I haven't had chicken pot pie. And after a day or so, she obliged me and she chopped up rotisserie chicken and she put together some fresh vegetables and a fresh topping of what was that? The topping. I can't think of it outside
Did you
my head.
talk for the pie crust?
I'm sorry, the pie crust. Yes,
Yeah.
the nice fresh pie crust. And oh my god, like she left that for me one day, and I think I tore through that thing in less than a day and a half. Oh my god, this chicken pot pie by the Gourmet Goober over here was just absolutely off the top. The best thing I ate this week because
Aw.
it was fresh, it was consistent, and it was one of those things that when they say like it's a like a good meal, good home meal when like even the next day the leftovers like it's almost better than the first because it's had time to kind of settle together. That was what made the best thing I ate this week the best because it was something I was yearning for. It harkened me back to like some good old days, and I would like to give thanks and appreciation to my girl for hooking me
Aw.
up with a chicken pot pie that I absolutely loved.
Aw, that's so sweet. And
Now,
thank you for sharing that. And you know what? Honestly, it's one of my favorite things in the world to make. Actually, it's so funny. When I started the blog years and years ago, I think it was like the second recipe I shared on the Gourmet Goober. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the blog, it started off as like a recipe diary. And then it became something else. Then eventually it became the podcast. So what I'll do is I'll share the link to the pot pie. So I'll repost it on the blog and I'll share this link to it in the show notes. It is one of my favorite things to make, and it's one of those things that I've made it so many times over the years that I remember when I wrote the recipe down, it was actually kind of challenging because it's one of those things that you just make and you don't have a recipe for, you just know when it tastes right. And so I remember writing down the recipe like, oh snap, I need to like track how much butter I use and how much cream because this looks right and this is it. But yeah, that makes me feel good because it's one of my favorite things to make, and I love making it for you because I know it makes you happy. So yay, thank you.
yeah, it was tight.
Well, the best thing I had this week, and I had a lot of really good candidates for this week, but I'll have to say what I ate this week that was really, really amazing is at Fogo de Chao. Like I said, it's a Brazilian steakhouse, and it's known for several different types of food. And one of the things that they serve is something called a picana, and it's basically beef, and it's very well seasoned, and it's prepared. It's a traditional Brazilian style beef dish. And you can it's not just beef either, because I think there's a pork picana too, although they didn't come around with the pork picana. But I know when I went to Fogo de Chao, I went with, like, look, I told Big Daddy, like, as soon as I have the picana, I am done emotionally. Like, that's what I wanted.
Yes.
That was my goal. I ate it, and I was in instant nirvana to the point where Big Daddy was, like, staring at me.
She was having enough.
So good.
It was like a Harry met Sally, like at the table type moment. She was like, I was starting to think like, okay, maybe I should have some of what she's having.
It was so good and so well seasoned and so juicy, and I got my fill and then some.
She called her life, yeah.
And to the point where it was funny because I was eating it, and this is aging me clearly. Mm-hmm. Not that the Missy Elliott thing earlier didn't age me, but for those of you who grew up watching Hanna-Barbera cartoons, there's a character in the Quick Draw McDraw cartoons that I refer that's named Snuffles. Okay, and so Snuffles is a dog. Well, Quick Draw is a dog too, but Snuffles is a dog that Quick Draw uses to like track down like bad guys. Mm-hmm. And Snuffles will do it. But you have to give Snuffles like a treat, right? So there's this whole segment of the cartoon. It lasts for like 16 seconds or so. You give Snuffles a treat. He hugs himself. and then he floats down in Nirvana from the ceiling. And Big Daddy's like, how are you feeling when you're eating this picanha? Because I just made this face. And I Googled it on my phone and I showed it to him like, I'm having a snuffle moment right now in front of you.
She was like all excited. She hugs like in the middle of a restaurant. She like gets excited. She hugs herself, and all of a sudden, I thought for a minute she was actually floating.
No, the whole experience was amazing, and there were other great things they had too. Oh, excuse me, like their lamb steak was really good. Their sirloin was really amazing, but sirloin. Their picanha is so delicious. So if you're like a carnivore, you're a meat eater, you love beef, go to Fogo de Chao. Again, try the picanha. It is incredible. Special mentions to a couple other things I had this week. One was...
We don't do shout-outs.
No, this actually deserves a shout-out.
Okay.
Because before I went to Fogo de Chao, like I said, I had that like outing with my coworkers, and they got us lunch too. And so one of the things I got at the Punch Bowl Social is they have something called a shrimp burger.
Shrimp burger.
Yeah, so it's fried shrimp, lightly fried. It's not really heavy. And it's pickled red onions and lettuce and tomatoes, and it has like Old Bay mayonnaise. So it's mayonnaise and it's mixed with Old Bay. It comes with these incredible rosemary fries that are just to die for. They're very thin cut. They're fried crispy, and then they're seasoned with garlic, sea salt, and fresh rosemary. Like you can see the fresh rosemary on it. And these fries were next level good.
Okay, wait a minute. Forget about shrimp burger. Let's talk more about these French fries here.
Yes, the rosemary French fries were amazing. To be honest, I tried to bring you some home, and they didn't make it by the time you got to see me. But I'm hoping that you and I could try them again or recreate them ourselves, because they were just amazing fries. And the shrimp burger was next level great too.
No. Once again, let's talk about these fries again.
What do you want to know?
No, I'm a big fan of different types of fries. I'm always looking for the best fries.
No, they were really great. They were thin cut, so they're almost like shoestring cut, in like diameter.
Okay.
And thickness. And like I said, they were fried. So they were crispy, but they were not overdone. But yeah, the seasoning was just really simple, but really flavorful. Garlic, sea salt, and then the fresh rosemary that they mixed it with. So they obviously did a quick toss with oil or with butter, and then topped it off with these crumbled fresh rosemary. But it was every bit. It was amazing. I would recommend, if you guys ever go to Punch Bowl Social, try the fries. Try the rosemary fries.
Yeah.
They are the best.
Yeah, okay.
The sandwich was really great too, but the fries was next level good.
So was it when you had these fries, did you have, what was it, a snuffle moment or whatever?
Yeah, I actually had close to a snuffles moment.
Did you
And I floated down, yes.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure that's going to be my new quality of different foods now. It's like, is there a snuffles moment?
Yes.
Okay.
So again, shout out to the great people at Punch Bowl Social for having us, my job over there, and then the great people of Fogo de Chao. Don't forget that you can take advantage of Fogo de Chao's $39 meal price up until September 15th by using the word restaurant month, but you must use it before they seat you, and then that's kind of like their secret password. But it's worth it, and it's a great time.
The password is
Restaurant
month. Literally show up, you'd be like, hi, welcome to Restaurant Month.
Exactly.
It's like, hi, how many seat? No, Restaurant Month.
Right before we walked in, Big Daddy's like, do you remember what you have to say? Mm-hmm. Exactly. So everyone, thank you so much for listening to the Gourmet Goober. As always, we welcome your feedback. You can email us at thegourmetgoober@gmail.com. You can check in on us at thegourmetduber.com. Duber.
Restaurant Month.
thegourmetgoober.com. You can also
RSVP.
find me on Twitter at JJ Outlaw and on Instagram at Gourmet Goober. And Big Daddy, where can they find you?
Yeah, after you go through Restaurant Month.
Exactly.
You can find me on Twitter at TOutlaw and on Instagram at TOutlaw Josie Wells. Make sure you RSVP and don't forget to partake of your chicken sandwich when it shows up.
Exactly. So everyone who's listening, thank you for spending another episode with us. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And until next time, happy eating.
Lord willing.